Good morning. Welcome into Victory Formation, brought to you through RiverCity-Media. I'm Phil Dye, along with Geoff Miller. Geoff, how you doing this morning?
Oh, not too bad after a long day yesterday and all the college football.
Yeah, it was a very long day. Started at 11, didn't end until late in the night with upset after upset and blowout after blowout. Right in the middle of the day, though, was the big game of the day. Number 1 Georgia versus your Tennessee Vols. How did you see the game?
Well, it ended up exactly like I thought it would. Tennessee's playing tough. They're just not anywhere close to that level. I think all Tennessee fans got a little hopeful after that first drive because we literally just stuffed it down Georgia's throats right off the bat, and that was pretty much the end of that. The turning point in that game, I believe, was the horse collar. That it would have been 4th and 25 or 30 and a punt. And instead, it's first down and 10, Georgia, and they drive down and put points on the board. But again, it's Georgia's defense after that first drive came out and figured it out, forced some Tennessee mistakes, and they handled business. So, Georgia's your number 1 team, and until proven otherwise, that's what it is.
Yeah, I kind of saw this game going the exact same way. I was a little worried about it as a Georgia fan, knowing Tennessee had that offense. And when they came out the way they did in the first quarter, I was like, well, here we go. But I've seen Georgia give up some drives in the first quarter, usually just not a touchdown. But then they seemed to put it together. And like you said, I think the more elite team won, the deeper team definitely won. I think Tennessee was getting tired in the fourth quarter, third and fourth quarter. And that's when Georgia kind of stepped up and put the game away. One thing that was brought up yesterday was, and this morning as I talked to Randall before the show, injuries. Did you notice a rash of injuries after Tennessee plays yesterday?
I noticed it during the game. I was talking to some guys last night. It seemed like on both sides, and Tennessee can't afford them. They're already, 20 plus scholarships short, playing on a short roster. Tennessee can't afford them. But it seemed like there were players going down on both sides yesterday. And I did mention to them last night that in the fourth quarter, I felt like Georgia was going to just kind of call the dogs off and end the football game. Because there was no point in having any more injuries on Georgia's side as well moving forward. So, but I did notice that.
I guess my point is, do you think they were legit injuries on Georgia's part? Because I heard they weren't.
Oh, I see what you're saying. As far as Tennessee's offense and the people going down, I got you. I understand. I didn't feel like that as much yesterday. I definitely did during the Ole Miss game. And I think the week following Tennessee Ole Miss did it again. I think that's just something they used. I didn't feel like it was that Georgia was doing that on purpose. There was no point since they were that far up. I do feel that Tennessee's pace of play does affect people at times. I didn't think Georgia was doing that on purpose. I didn't feel that way.
I didn't think so either. And I was watching the game on TV, and you could see several of their players went to the locker room.
Correct.
So after the injuries or in the medical tent and didn't come back the next play, that type of thing. So I don't know if that was, to slow Tennessee down or not. I think they were legit for the most part. Also, Georgia played yesterday with 8 guys with the flu, from what I understand, and I'm not saying that's why Tennessee went down and scored early, but Georgia may have been trying to get their feet under themselves early in that game as well. Well, let's go backward, starting early in the day, and we'll just kind of go through the day as it was. Early day, we had in the SEC, Auburn and Mississippi State. What a tale of 2 games that was. Auburn jumps out. Looks like it's going to be a blowout. It's 28-3. Mississippi State scores 40 unanswered points.
So when it was 28-3, and I think that was in the third quarter, I think it was at that point, I kind of quit watching that game and started watching other games that I had interest in. And then I went back and checked scores, maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes later, and went, what is going on? Like, as if you're up 28-3, just ask the Falcons. You cannot give up those points like that. I don't understand how Auburn's coaching staff, the Auburn team, allowed that to happen. And now I wish I'd have watched the game to find out exactly how it happened. I mean, there had to be some things go wrong.
I'm with you on that, because I kind of changed the channel and flipped over and was watching a couple other games too. And I flipped back, and it's like, I think it was 28-23 by then. And I'm with you. I mean, it can happen to the Falcons, but Tom Brady was not quarterbacking Mississippi State yesterday.
Correct. And I don't, as again, there has to be something in you that when you're up by that amount, you have to end that game. You have to put that game away. I don't know if Auburn took their foot off their throats, if they just got lackadaisical on the defensive side, or if Mississippi State figured something out. But that's one of those losses that's going to come back and bite Auburn at the end of the year.
Oh, I think so. Now they've dropped to 4 losses, I believe, on the season now, 6-4. Mississippi State also 6-4. I mean, for Auburn to fold like that with a chance, knowing that if they win out, they still got a chance to the SEC title. And now the Bama game is just going to be the Iron Bowl. It's not going to be for anything else. So.
Correct.
Well, it is on Alabama's part. But I think we'll get into this later, too, with the Texas A&M game. But Alabama has wrapped themselves up a SEC title almost as well. All they have to do is win one more game. All right, let's move over to another 11 o'clock game. Big game on the schedule in the Big Ten. Michigan goes to Happy Valley playing Penn State. I don't know if you watched much of this game, but very back and forth, fairly low scoring, just a knockdown, drag-out, old-time Big Ten school game.
Yeah, that was definitely that kind of game. It was a typical Big Ten defensive struggle type of game. Michigan's been pretty good offensively, so I think that shows you how good Penn State is on the defensive side of the football. Penn State, they struggle at times offensively, and I think yesterday was one of those times. But Michigan did enough to put it away and keep their name in contention for the CFP. So, I mean, it was a defensive struggle. It was a good football game if you like that kind of stuff. I watched some of it, but again, with so many games on, I had to check out the other ones too. So, but yeah, Michigan handled business. They did what they had to.
Yeah, not a fan of either team very much, am I? But it was a good game. I know I've been on the Michigan bandwagon a little this year, but that's not necessarily being a fan. It's just being realistic from what I thought it would be. As you said, Michigan stays in the hunt for the playoff. I mean, as long as you're around that 5 and 6 spot, anything can still happen. So good win for Michigan to go in there. They're now 9-1 and right in the middle of things. Speaking of 9-1, this was an easy game, though. Alabama, New Mexico State, those poor guys coming in to Alabama. Score a field goal early, really excited for them. And, yeah, that was it. 59-3. Alabama covers the 51.5 points. Just a total domination and blowout. Did you really pull anything from this game that you didn't expect?
Not really. I'll be honest. I didn't see the first play from this game. I had no intention of watching it at all. I did check the scores. If the score was close at halftime, I may have flipped over. But this was just one of those games. It was kind of over before it began. Alabama took care of what they had to do. They're that team. They deserve their ranking where they're at. And that's like, I really didn't. There's nothing to take away from this game other than Alabama beat up on a high school team.
I totally agree. Let's get to a game where there was a lot on the line, and still may be a lot on the line. Oklahoma, we've said it all year. They lived on the edge, and finally they fell off yesterday. The Baylor Bears came to play yesterday, and they took Oklahoma out 27-14. I think that dashes Oklahoma's chances.
Oh, 100%. I think Oklahoma does not have one signature win on their resume for the year. They were already ranked, I believe it was 8th in the CFP.
Yes.
I think I think they'll drop outside the top 10 now. I think that's apparent. They had been living on the edge, like you said. It was going to eventually bite them, and that snake finally did get them. Baylor played a great football game. Oklahoma's offense has been pretty good all year. Their defense, I've been saying it all year, has been suspect at best. But Baylor stuffed Oklahoma's offense. They did not allow them to do anything they wanted to do. And on Baylor's side of it, I think it's is it their quarterback's name Bohannon?
Yes.
Jerry Bohannon had a pretty good football game. 3 total touchdowns on the day, 1 passing, 2 rushing. I think he had like 109 yards on the ground. So they really didn't have an answer. Oklahoma did not have an answer for Baylor's rush attack. They had, I think it was nearly 300 yards rushing against Oklahoma. I could be wrong on those numbers. But yeah, it finally got Oklahoma, and I'm not so sure that Oklahoma didn't have a second loss when it comes to Oklahoma State here soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that game. Oklahoma State playing ball right now, playing very well, actually. Well, since you brought it up, let's jump into that game. Oklahoma State comes out last night. It was a later game. But, man, you talk about whipping TCU 63-17, and it was worse than that earlier. So, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and TCU scores at the end. But Oklahoma State looks like they got a point to prove. They're 9-1, and they're going in a totally opposite direction than Oklahoma right now. They're moving up that chain.
Oh, you have to think that Oklahoma fans right now are just scared to death after this Baylor game of the rest of the season. I think you have that as an Oklahoma fan, you have to realize that your team is in trouble as far as a Big 12 championship game. Oklahoma State is going to come to play. There is something on the line for those teams, not a CFP, but there is something on the line. And Oklahoma State is for real right now. It appears to be anyways.
Well, it's going to be very hard for them to get into that playoff hunt, starting from where they are right now at number 10. With Oklahoma losing especially, it won't be as big a signature win if they do beat them. They've got a lot of teams to jump. And right now, I'm with you, I don't see Oklahoma getting into that playoff, but they do have a lot to play for. And just pride alone against Oklahoma is something. And that's something that everybody wants to get to and hasn't been able to for a few years. So I actually say good luck to the Cowboys.
I agree with you, and you're right. The CFP, the more we move forward, it's starting to take shape and kind of get itself locked in, and you kind of get a feeling of what could happen and what might happen and who can get in. And I think some of these teams are just too far out, like Oklahoma State, Oklahoma at this point.
Well, another one that's right there on the brink, right in front of Oklahoma State, that's played well since just giving Cincinnati an opportunity to be in the talk right now is Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins Virginia last night, 28-3. They're not flashy. They're not anything that you remember from day to day or week to week as watching a football game. But Notre Dame just kind of keeps winning. Their schedule's not that great. Hasn't been this year. And but hey, they're 9-1 right now. And if chips fall right, they could get in. But once again, there's too many people ahead of them.
Right, and they have been. It's something that I've to be honest, I've kind of overlooked a little bit this season is Notre Dame and their ability to just win. They don't do anything really spectacular. There's nothing to really talk about the next day. They just kind of handle business. I think what was Virginia? What was their record? 6-3, I think. Going into
they're 6-4 now.
so 6-3 going into the game yesterday. So Virginia is obviously not a bad team. They played, I guess, a similar schedule to what Notre Dame's had to play, but they've been winning football games too. So they have the ability, and Notre Dame beats them pretty handily. Like you said, nothing flashy, but they keep winning. And we've seen it before that if the right teams lose at the right time, another team can creep up and get in sometimes. I think we saw it one year when Alabama played LSU for the national championship game and didn't play for a SEC championship game. And Alabama got in.
Still got in.
So it's possible. Things happen. People lose at the right times, and I guess we'll see. But they do. They keep winning, and they being inside the top 10, they need to be talked about and brought to light.
And Alabama went on to win the national championship that same year. So that was 4 years ago against Georgia in the national championship. One team that's looking really good to be in that playoff hunt that said yesterday coming in, there was a lot of doubt as to whether they might win. They put an end to that quickly. Ohio State takes care of business with Purdue. Purdue scored some points yesterday, but it really didn't seem to matter. That game was well in hand the whole time. Ohio State with a 59-31 win at home yesterday to go to 9-1 kind of solidifies their number 4 spot.
I agree. That game had the making starting out of being a pretty good football game. This is one that I watched a little bit of. The score was pretty close in the first quarter, and then Ohio State kind of pulled away, and I think at one point it was 28-7 or something like that in the first half. And I think that was almost what the spread of that game was. So for that, about a quarter and a half between halfway through the first quarter and the end of the first half, that was the difference in the entire game. Because after that, in the second half, they kind of just played hand in hand and exchanged points the entire second half, if I remember correctly. And the final score was 59-30 something.
59-31.
So that was pretty much the break in that game was about a quarter and a half during the first half when Ohio State just turned it on and got that lead and then never relinquished that lead.
Well, they have the ability to do that, as we've seen, and C.J. Stroud kind of keeps coming back and trying to throw his name in the Heisman. Speaking of the Heisman, this is going to be just a wacky year to try to pick one. I think there's no clear cut at all.
Yeah, I don't see a clear cut, and I think me and you we talked about this some earlier in the season, where some guys were starting to put a foot forward as being the talk or maybe the 1, 2, and 3 or whatever. But I don't want to be that committee, the voters right now trying to pick a Heisman winner. There's nobody that's really taking the lead there. And anytime somebody does look to take the lead, they lose like a very next game, and then all of a sudden they're not in the talk anymore. So yeah, I don't want to be those voters.
Yeah, it's just been an odd year from a guy like Spencer Rattler coming in for Oklahoma, being the preseason Heisman favorite, to go to the bench. And then people come out of nowhere that you weren't even mentioning, like a Kenneth Walker at Michigan State, who's still chugging along. I think he's going to get an invite. Speaking of Michigan State, taking on Maryland yesterday at home, and once again, let me say a Big Ten team is 9-1, so that's 3 of them right now, still hanging around at 9-1, and they've all beaten each other, except Oregon, obviously, with the win over Ohio State. But Michigan State, who's beaten Michigan, still to play Ohio State, takes care of business with Maryland. Of course, they're a 500 team. They should have 40-21 the final. Once again, Michigan State just comes in, does what they have to do. Are they going to get in?
The
Can
Big
they beat
Ten,
Ohio State, I guess, is the question.
that's the real question. And the Big Ten's hard to call right now. It's like, 1 week we're going, oh, Ohio State's a team. Then the next week we're going, oh, Michigan's playing well. And then the next week, Michigan State beats Michigan. So I don't really know about the Big Ten. It's going to be entertaining to watch it finish up the year. But it's between those three teams, and I think it's any given week. Pick a Saturday and let those three teams play, and then let them play again the next week, and a whole different outcome happens. So,
round robin, so to speak.
Yeah, it's I guess the best of luck trying to call it. It's going to be fun, entertaining watching it as the season progresses and ends. But I have no idea. You got three teams right there, and any of them are capable.
Yeah, Kenneth Walker once again, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns yesterday, just chugging right along with his Heisman bid as well for Michigan State. So we've got a couple of good weeks coming up, with them playing Ohio State, Michigan playing Ohio State. The Buckeyes definitely seem to have the hardest road because they've got both those teams left.
Correct. And it's going to be entertaining. I mean, it's Ohio State's got a rough one to go. They seem to be playing good, but we've also seen them falter earlier in the season and not play so well. I do think this is a different Ohio State team, but this Michigan State team, they can come alive and play with you. And I don't know. Like I said, it's gonna be fun.
I'm going to bring up one more 9-1 team here. Oregon out west currently sits at number 3. Fairly tough game against Washington State last night. It was 14-14 at halftime. Oregon kind of pulls away for a 38-24 game in the second half, which kind of has been what they do all year. They've been a second half team, but they've solidified that number 3 spot, I believe. And as long as they win out, I believe Oregon's going to be in.
Yeah, I don't see anybody left on their schedule that should beat them. But they've been prone in the past to struggle with the Oregon State game or a team they shouldn't. So I don't want to put it past them to mess something up there. But it looks like they have that Pac-12 championship game locked up and in hand. So they just got to keep handling business, do what they do. They do tend to wear teams down in the second half. And you're right, they pull away in the second half, just as they did in this Washington State game. So, Oregon has they might have the easiest road of any team into the college football playoff.
Something that's kind of the way I see it as well. It looks like Randall has crawled home from Knoxville. And
hey, how's everybody doing? It's
good to see you this
not,
morning, Randall. Was it a rough night?
It's an early morning for a 55-year-old after college football Saturday night. No, it was a good night. I had a really, really great time last night. I mean, I hate to hijack the show, but can I give y'all a couple comments about Georgia before we go on?
Sure.
I kind of, in the other show on Wednesday night, built a recipe for Tennessee to win the football game. The number one factor was turnover battle. Georgia wins it 2-0. Georgia just don't make mistakes. I mean, I give Kirby Smart credit. I don't know if Stetson Bennett's an elite quarterback. He's a very good game manager. And I told Arden, I told Phil just before we came on, I called Georgia a very, very, very good football team. I don't know if they're elite. Elite as in the best team of the decade or one of those Alabama teams. But God, they make no mistakes. And that's their MO. Georgia makes no mistakes. To me, Tennessee needed 2 turnovers and 2 40-yard plus plays. Had none of the 4. And every opportunity they had, drove the ball good on Georgia. But it seems like Georgia, once Tennessee went in, a little desperation on Tennessee. Once we went inside the 20 and that field narrowed up, I felt like Georgia could just play their base defense and kind of control the game. So
Tennessee did get 2 big plays. They may not have been quite 40 yards, but they were big plays. I thought one went for over 40, actually.
I thought so as well.
40-yard explosion touchdowns. Maybe I spoke that.
Okay.
The one that we had early in the game and just overthrew the receiver wide open. That's they may have had some 40-yard plays, but I'm talking about big scores from.
I got you.
Flip the field.
Hey, let me answer your question a minute ago about Stetson Bennett. No, he is not an elite quarterback. I sat yesterday and talked about Stetson Bennett about how many mistakes he kept making yesterday. If he stays in the pocket and throws the ball quick, he's very accurate. Once he gets in there and starts bouncing around, it's almost like he's nervous and he misses targets a lot. Either that or takes off running. So
the one odd thing about Georgia is how deep they drop Stetson Bennett, and you really can't tell it until you see it in person. Stetson Bennett may have the deepest drop I've ever seen a quarterback have, which completely voided at Tennessee's rush game. They still got to him a couple of times, but Stetson Bennett is 15 yards. I mean, it's frustrating that you get pressure and he's so deep you can't get to him. But just to not take over the show, everybody.
Too late.
Hey, Randall.
Bleeding right now. Congratulations to the Georgia Bulldogs, and
Hey, Randall.
I hope my friends that are dog friends get the much needed, deserved 40-year wait over this year, because that's a good football team, and I think this year, in a year where you can just play great football, not make mistakes, somebody's going to have to be perfect to beat that football team. So go ahead. I just felt like I owed that to the Georgia crowd.
Well, something else that didn't help Tennessee in that game. What is the guy's? His name's escaping me. Randall, Tennessee's deep threat wide receiver.
Devontae Payton got hurt early.
Payton got hurt early, which did not help our deep threat passing game.
I feel like that Georgia was able to get so much pressure after the first series. I wonder, Geoff, if teams don't catch up to what we're doing in the second quarter. It seems like we just struggle. And
we're not
Payton now.
Yeah, but we're not deep enough too, Rand. I mean, we have no depth on anything, and it's hard to play 4 quarters with a team like Georgia or a team like Alabama that is they're deep, they're talented, they're fast, and they have multiple lines they can shift in and sub. We just don't have that.
Georgia would flip their whole defense at times, their whole front 7 almost. 6 players would run in. Tennessee, I read a stat where Tennessee's offensive linemen, I think they are the 5 that started played every snap but 4. You just don't. But again, Tennessee had their chances. And when Tennessee had a chance, they had the football down 14 to make it 7. And Georgia shut them down inside the 20. And Tennessee had the football to get in the game. So, my friend Phil Harris, who's a 40-year broadcaster, just looked up at me and he goes, they just don't make mistakes. And that's the truth. But congratulations, dogs. I'll end my rant. We'll see y'all. We're at least I feel like I'm not embarrassed by our effort. That's a good feeling. All
right. After that 3.5-minute Tennessee postgame show that I never said a word in.
I wouldn't either if I won 41-17. I'd be quiet too.
Hey, all I have to do is sit here and look at the scoreboard, brother. All right, let's move on a little bit.
Hey, I just remind you that I used to do a show. We were sponsored by the Georgia Championship Trophy Case, building trophy cases that were empty since 1980. So you all got some work to make up.
I hear you, brother. I hear you. All right, we're almost kind of wrapping up the college football from yesterday, Randall, since you're just joining us. One game that I thought was going to be, well, it ended up being kind of a blowout, but they seem to struggle every week, is the Cincinnati Bearcats. It was 7-7. It was ugly against South Florida, who's a 2-7 team coming in. 45-28 final, but goodness. I mean, they're not doing anything to show anybody that they deserve to be in that top four, Geoff.
No, I agree. For the first 4 weeks, Cincinnati played so well. They looked like they were a cohesive team that was moving the football, doing all the right things, and then they started struggling. And once those struggles hit, they have hit every single week. I don't think there's anybody that can beat them, but I don't. They don't pass the eye test to me anymore. They just don't play that well, and they're gonna get exposed if they do find a way, and the committee does vote them into the CFP.
Randall, what did you think about the Bearcats yesterday?
I'm off Cincinnati. Early in the year, I think I was getting on here and screaming they beat Indiana, they beat Notre Dame. And Wednesday night, I screamed that you have to look at the quality of defeat. So that's the reason my argument of Ohio State in front of Oregon. But to me, there's some logic to this. If you're struggling to beat Tulsa, South Florida, you're not one of the best 4 teams in the country. Let's take a bad SEC. Let's take South Carolina. South Carolina playing Cincinnati schedule.
Would that be the South Carolina team that stomped the Florida Gators last week?
Yeah.
Let's
South
take
Carolina
them.
team
would
probably be 9-3 playing that Cincinnati schedule. 9-3, 10-2. So you tell me that South Carolina team that's an average team in the SEC can take your football schedule and go 9-3, 10-2. That changes my opinion a lot. I mean, the 2 victories are not looking. Indiana has fell off, and I'm not a believer in 9-1 Notre Dame, just like I wasn't 8-0 Wake Forest. They played the same schedule. There was nothing there. So,
well, how do you think like a team that's maybe 4-5 coming in playing FCS would do against Cincinnati's schedule? Maybe like a Samford who scored 52 points on Florida yesterday.
I am so glad we're going to talk about that.
I would love for Tennessee to play Florida right now. I would love for Tennessee to play Florida.
That game would not be close.
And Dan Mullen, if he gets by with firing Todd Grantham and making some staff changes, boy, that's a free one right there. That's a Philip Former level. You're getting a free pass because you give up that many points to Sanford's not even a good Southern Conference team.
No,
that's embarrassing. It reminds me.
It seems like Todd Grantham was not necessarily the full problem either.
There you go.
He wasn't there yesterday.
I was sitting there watching that Florida game yesterday, and I had the biggest smile on my face. People were asking what is wrong with me, and I said I love the Bulldogs right now, and they said Georgia. I said no, Sanford. I can't stand Florida. Cannot stand them. So a Florida loss there, and I got news for you: 70-52 against the Sanford Bulldogs. That is a loss. They are such a dumpster fire right now, and Tennessee is not the bottom of the barrel.
One thing Georgia and Tennessee can get along with is the hate of Florida. That's for sure. All right, there was another big one last night as well. Team that's just going in the wrong direction and says they want to play in the SEC. The Texas Longhorns lose in overtime 57-56 to Kansas. Bottom of the barrel, Kansas, to a 2-point conversion, which was caught by a walk-on. It doesn't get any worse for Kansas right now. Randall?
Look, that's a Kansas football team that had just gotten ran out of the stadium by, I think, Kansas State by 50. Coming into the week as a Tennessee season ticket holder, I get information on possible bowl locations and opponents, and it's kind of their insider. And one of them was having us playing Texas in the Liberty Bowl. And I texted my friends and I said, if we can get Texas in the Liberty Bowl, I'm driving to Memphis because I hate Texas, and we will beat Texas. Texas is a train wreck. Steve Sarkisian is a good story, but not a good football coach. I'm sorry, he's had 3 high-profile jobs now: Washington, USC, and Texas. And in my humble opinion, underperformed at each one of them. So let's see how this works out for you, Texas.
All right, I'm going to get into a couple more college games just briefly before we go to the pros today.
Before you do that, Phil, let me comment one thing on Texas. I'm sorry.
Oh, go right ahead.
It's nothing to do with the game, but if you have never seen SEC shorts on YouTube or Facebook, please go watch them this week, because the Florida and Texas thing is going to be absolutely epic on it.
Yeah,
on
I
SEC
watch
shorts.
SEC shorts every week. I've got it loaded up on as one of my favorites on Facebook, so I see them all. All right, staying in the SEC, just local, just get you guys to touch just briefly on these 2 games, not meaning a lot, but big games in the SEC nonetheless. Goes to overtime, Arkansas 16, LSU 13. Orgeron toward the end of his tenure right now. I also hear this week that LSU is going to go after Jimbo Fisher. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
I don't really know. LSU is a better football team than I thought originally they were. I hope they don't go after Jimbo Fisher. I think as a coach, I actually like the guy, and I really don't want LSU to be good again. So I wish they just stay away from that. The game itself, I mean, you have to be kind of impressed with Arkansas, right? LSU's been playing pretty tough here lately. They've been pretty good defensively, and I mean, you have to be impressed with Arkansas's win there. That's the only thing I can really take from that game. What do you think?
Well, I agree. I like Arkansas. I like to watch them play. I have all year. I just think they're a good feel-good story this year, coming from where they have been. Beating LSU on a Saturday night in Death Valley, I don't care who you are. I think you've got to give the team some credit. As for the Jimbo Fisher thing, I don't know if he'll go there. They're going to open up the pocketbook and throw a lot of money at him. But from where he's going, from the heights he claims he was going to be at Texas A&M, now it's dropping a little bit. And that was what one of the other games I was going to bring up. Texas A&M falls at Ole Miss 29-19. Lane Kiffin with a full day yesterday, going from game day and picking the balls to beat Georgia yesterday, I might add. And coaching last night on the sidelines against A&M, getting a 10-point win. Randall, did you watch? Well, you did not watch any of that game, I'm assuming. But what are your thoughts about Kiffin on game day and then coaching?
Driving home late last night on XM, I got to hear game day. And that was Lane Kiffin being Lane Kiffin. You know what? He's going to say things that's controversial. He's going to do things. There is a sick relationship between Lane Kiffin and the University of Tennessee. And I'm going to tell you, I love when he gets – there's no way that man believed Tennessee is going to beat Georgia, but that made press. That all press is good for Lane Kiffin. So I did get to hear a little bit of or see a little bit of Texas, excuse me,
A&M.
Ole Miss last night. And you know what? That's a pretty good football team when they have Matt Corral healthy. That's a good football team. They've got one superstar that I can't help but think is going to be a 10-year NFL vet. I'm just really impressed with Matt Corral when he's healthy and able to run that team. Jimbo Fisher, real quick. I just want to remind everybody, I love, LSU is a great university, but what people doesn't realize is LSU is probably the least financially stable university in the SEC, the smallest endowment in the SEC. Now, you can recruit a top 5 class and never leave Baton Rouge, Metro, if they're able to put $90 million or $80 million to buy Jimbo Fisher's contract out, that would be 1/5 of their school endowment. Their whole, and it sounds like $100 million. I mean, it's not that much money when you say, well, their endowment's $500 million. Texas's endowment is $5 billion. Tennessee's endowment is somewhere around $1.3 billion. I just can't see LSU spending 5-6 figures. I mean, near 6 figures on a buyout, so or 9 figures on a buyout. So, and I also always mention the train wreck that is Florida State was left by one man, Jimbo Fisher. So,
well, the train wreck that is Florida State was going to be the last game I brought up today because that train wreck crashed right into the Miami Hurricanes yesterday and beats them 21 or 31-28. Miami has to just be beside itself. Manny Diaz, obviously not the answer in Miami.
I agree.
All right, enough said about Jimbo Fisher and Miami and Florida State. Let's get into some NFL, which is why we're here today. Randall, you going to stay with us for some NFL and give us some of your great insight?
I got my notes right there. I take the picture of somebody else's podcast and their board, so that's my best note. So,
all right, well, let's get into it. And I'm going to just start out. I'm going to bounce around a little bit, maybe not go in the same order you guys have got it because I don't know where you're at. But we'll start out today with Geoff's Atlanta Falcons going into Dallas. 6-2 Dallas, 4-4 Atlanta. The line is -8 with a 54.5 total. Geoff, I'll let you start off on this. Dallas looks like they're going to be potent one week, but then they're not. And then Atlanta looks like they're dead, and then they come out and score 30. I'm not sure. What do you see in this game?
I like the game from a scoring aspect. I think both Dallas struggled so bad last week. So I have to think that they're going to come out and play football this week, especially against Atlanta. Atlanta seems to have been a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball. I just think Dallas has too much. I think this is a higher scoring game. I do think that Kyle Pitts and Tajay Sharp have a lot to do with that with the offense this week. Sharp's been getting some targets. It just hasn't been translating into fantasy points as of yet. But I do believe that this is the game where he gets some points in that aspect. So I love Sharp this week. I want to like Ezekiel Elliott against Atlanta. I just don't like his price point. I don't trust him. Randall might have a better read on that than I do.
Well, Randall, how do you see it going? I noticed that last week you were talking about Tajay Sharp, Geoff. Zacchaeus got 3 targets, but turned 2 of them into touchdowns last week. Can he keep that up, Randall?
Probably not. I don't know that's going to be one of those situations that one week it's Tajay Sharp and the next week it's Zacchaeus. I do like this football game from a DFS standpoint, and I'm going to throw a name out there, and let's just all remember that Dallas's defensive coordinator is one Dan Quinn, ex-head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. So I think this game has a bunch of undertones. I think it shoots out, and I love stacking both sides of the game. I really think that this could be an interesting football game. And I remind you, Georgia Bulldogs, and I had to mind the lady sitting behind me last night. You hate my ass on Saturday, but I'm with you on Sundays now. I'm about to change into Falcons gear. So you can hate me on Saturday, but I bleed red and black on Sunday. So I like the stack. I like Dallas's stack. I'm not crazy about Zeke. Give me Dallas's wide receivers. Give me Dak. Give me Matt Ryan. Give me Kyle Pitts. And Russell Gage.
Oh, a name we haven't heard. Who finally needs to show up somewhere.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on. Bills, Jets. Bills just Oh my! I don't even know what to say about last week. 9-6 to the Jaguars left me doing this, and I'm like, have no idea. Jets seem like they can't beat anybody but some of the best teams in football. So here we go again. Can the Jets pull it off today, Randall?
No. No, 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 no. And a good football team has got their butt stung last week, and I expect them to react that way. My number one quarterback in fantasy this week is Mr. Josh Allen. I see no way. That's embarrassing. If you're a professional athlete, that's embarrassing. So I am vested in the Bills. And also, you got that situation at running back. If Zach Moss does not play, Devin Singletary becomes a plug and play for me at a very good price point. So be watching in about 90 minutes. No Zach Moss, Devin Singletary becomes a must play. Also, while the world loves Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley just continues to produce every week. So sooner or later, everybody else will figure that out.
Very good point, Geoff.
So I agree with Randall on the football game. I think Buffalo comes out and handles business. I'm not going to pay for the Buffalo side of it. I don't think it's high enough scoring game. I think that they get off to a lead, and then you have to pick between Moss and Singletary who's going to run the football. So I'm probably not going to have a lot of pieces of this game. The price points are too high, and I don't think that the game script is going to be high enough. It's going to score enough points to warrant those. So I'm probably fading this game.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on. Going into New England, Patriots playing pretty good ball right now. Gotten up to 5-4, hosting the Cleveland Browns at 5-4. New England 2.5-point favorite, 45. That seems about like the right numbers to me, Geoff.
Yeah, especially my biggest concern is there are literally no running backs in this game. Like, there is zero running backs anymore. Chubb's out, Felton's out, Kelly's out, Harris is out, Stevenson's questionable, White's on IR. This is like the Baltimore preseason backfield. There is nobody available. You have the Ernest Johnson at 4,700. But other than that, that's pretty much. I don't trust New England's backfield. You could take a stab with Bolden, but you're going to be looking at the wide receivers. I think there's going to be a lot of passing in this game. It's only to move the football. So I tend to like. I really do like Landry and Myers this week.
I kind of like Ramondre Stevenson, and I like Ernest Johnson at the running back positions. I agree with you that there may be some passing, but since they're the only two left, I kind of like going with those. Randall?
I'm all over Ernest Johnson at $4,700. This week in nature, I want to play high-end quarterbacks, high-end receivers. I've got to save money at running back. If you couldn't tell by my Zach Moss, the Devin Singletary lecture, my whole philosophy this weekend is you go all the way up to Dalvin Cook, Najee Harris, Christian McCaffrey. You go all the way down to the Ernest Johnsons and Devin Singletaries. And right now, I'm living in the poor side of the town, so I like your call on that one.
Yeah, I like Ernest Johnson a lot. Let's remember what a big game he had when he did fill in before. All right, the winless Lions, the Steelers without Ben Roethlisberger, Mason Rudolph coming in today as quarterback. I just don't see a lot going down in this game that I really like. Randall, do you see anything different?
Pat Freiermuth has been practicing with Mason Rudolph all year. $3,900. I've got to save money at running back and tight end. I like Pat Freiermuth.
Well, you've saved enough running back money, so we may as well go to the tight end and get it cheap. Geoff, fade or play?
Again, I'm on the fade side of it. You can't trust the Lions. They might be 0 for after this week. They're just not doing enough to prove anything to me. I do kind of like Swift if you can afford it at 6,800. I think it might be the best player on the field this week. So
You're right. Very much right.
So if you can squeeze Swift in there at 6,800, I do like Swift. I think he gets a ton of looks, ton of touches. He catches the ball in the backfield. So I think that is it might be the best play and only play on that field today, besides his tight end play.
I'm not playing Swift, but since you brought him up, I got to say something. If you haven't seen the mic'd up Matthew Stafford from this year when the Lions play the Rams, you don't know how good of a player DeAndre Swift is. If you see that mic'd up, go find it on YouTube or wherever. That's Matthew Stafford talking about DeAndre Swift, is a fellow Georgia Bulldog. And he says, I used to sit back there and hand him the football and watch in amazement. That's how good this kid is.
Yeah. I think we all saw that in college, and it's continued into the pros. And if he was on a different team, I think everybody would realize how good he was. But he is mired in Detroit like so many good ones have been. Let's hope he doesn't quit in the prime of his career.
He'd look awful good red-black again.
Yes, he probably would.
Yes, he would.
All right, let's continue on with these dud games at 12 o'clock. Not a lot on the schedule today. It's early. The Jaguars and the Colts. I think the Colts are going to come in and win this game. Urban Meyer got the Jaguars playing a little better, but, I mean, if you consider a 9-6 win better. But I just said, once again, a dud game. I think the Colts take care of business. Randall, tell me who's going to stand out today.
I love that comment. It got me tickled. Look, this is perfect scenario. We just talked about the best young running back maybe in the NFL. I want to talk about the best young wide receiver in the NFL. And I think his name might be Michael Pittman. He is playable every week, every form. Someone dropped him in one of my leagues early on when he was injured. I picked him up, and he is a plug and play every week for me. I think Michael Pittman has a great day. And if the Colts ever figure out their quarterback situation, do they not have a core put together with Taylor and Pittman to move forward with? So, and I do like Pittman in this game, not so much on Jonathan Taylor, because, again, I don't want to play a running back that's actually ever been to a Pro Bowl at any point this week. So, good luck to me.
All right, Geoff, tell me what's going on in this game.
I agree with Randall on Pittman. The dude is so fun to watch. His ability to run routes it's one of the best in the league. He runs crisp routes. He makes the defenders bite. That's how he's so open all the time. He's a real fun guy to watch. I love Pittman this week. I'm actually kind of big on Carson Wentz. He had a bad week, but through this year, Carson Wentz has been, by the numbers, has been good. He's been good for fantasy. He's been good for the Colts. I'm trying to trust him after a bad outing. So his price point is $5,900. So for a quarterback that's getting you, I think his average is 23 or 24 points a weekend, I'll pay the $5,900 with a player like Michael Pittman. He's throwing the football too.
Fair enough. All right, enough of that one. Let's move on. Buccaneers, Washington football team. 10-point spread, 50.5. Tom Brady's going to throw it all over the field. Washington is going to have to throw the ball as well. I like Terry McLaurin a lot in this game because even though he's a little more expensive, he's going to get a lot of targets. Geoff, start us off on this one.
I do like the Terry McLaurin play. There's going to have to be the ball's going to be in the air, obviously. Washington's got to find a way to move it. So there's your answer there. On the Buccaneers side of it, I love Mike Evans right now. He's been getting more targets in the past couple of weeks. He's had a couple of breakout weeks that I'll call breakout weeks because he hasn't done much this season. So I going forward with Antonio Brown out, their wide receiving core is a little bit hurting and ailing. I love Mike Evans. I think he just goes off today.
Well, like you said, Antonio Brown is out. That should open the door for someone I guess Randall might bring to us right now. Enlighten me, Randall.
I'm struggling with this game right now, but I'm going to call this game where I get my tight ends from more than likely, because you got Rob Gronkowski, I believe, healthy and coming back. And whoever ends up being healthy from Washington, Ricky Seals-Jones or Thomas, I'm going to end up
Thomas
playing
is
there.
out. Thomas is out still.
Okay, so it's Ricky Seals-Jones. But I love Chris Godwin today. And I guess this is a reason that everybody's always opposite. But, I always try to play the guy that's not hot, because I feel like Brady wants to get the football to the guy that's not hot. So, and on a side note, hey, Antonio Brown, get better. My fantasy team is 4-5, and I need you. I really hey, I need to call Tampa. Get right here, buddy. I need you. But yeah, I kind of let's say the number one stat game today is this game. So I'm going to try to avoid it unless I get something like a Gronkowski or a tight end. I think Evans and Tom Brady may be the most owned players on the slate. So
Gronk is out, so your only tight ends over at Tampa Bay are you have to decide between Brady and Howard.
I'm going Brady every time.
Well, neither one of you bring up Tyler Johnson, which is where I thought one of you might go. Going to be a low price point. Had 9 targets for Tampa Bay last week, starting to make the most of them while Brown is out. He's a no play while Brown is there, but when he's out, he becomes a pretty big target at Tampa Bay. So I kind of like him.
Completely missed that one. Good call.
All right, last 12 o'clock game, or 1 o'clock if you live where Randall does. Saints, Titans in Nashville, Tennessee today. Titans favored by 3. Still no Derrick Henry. Won't be the rest of the year, but their running game, they kind of split it 3 ways last week. Really wasn't effective. Their offense really wasn't effective, to be honest, against the Rams. But somehow, Randall, they pulled that win out, and they just keep winning. 7-2, best in the AFC.
I do not want to believe in the Titans. Every week I get on the group text that Geoff and I are a member of the same fantasy league, and I tell those guys the Titans are a myth, but they win every fucking week and drive me crazy. Also, no Julio tonight. Your target share is really, really small with the Titans right now. No Derrick Henry, no Julio. Probably going to throw the ball against the Saints. They double A.J. Brown. Who's going to be the next guy? That's the $1 million question.
Geoff, who's the next guy?
I don't think if you can call him a next guy, but Nick Westbrook, Tiny, whatever you say it. He has, when they've been down on the receiver side, he seems to come through more than any of them. He gets most targets, he gets most catches. So if you're gonna go that route at 3,200, I do like him. You have to like the Titans, though. I mean, I'm with you, Randall. But they just get it done right now. I can't explain it. There's nobody in their division that's going to touch them. They're going to win their division, and they just seem to be getting better each week. But yeah, I think if you're going to play a low-end player, I would go with Westbrook there. And obviously, I do like Brown. That's a big play this week.
Don't make me cuss on the air.
Any thoughts with Kamara out? Mark Ingram?
Good call. Another one of my trash running backs this weekend.
All right. Well,
my problem
side of town.
My problem with anything on the running side of the Saints, Tennessee has been really, really good against the run here lately. And I just don't know going forward. And I'll give Mark Ingram this. He has been catching more passes out of the backfield. So there is that.
This game feels like a preseason game. You've got so many substitute players in the game. No Kamara, no Henry, no Julio. This game is going to pop for somebody, and somebody's going to get it right and be able to roll something big out of this. I don't know which side to go.
Yeah, it's just a matter of who shows up today, I think, in this one. Let's just watch it and enjoy. All right, the next game we'll start down in after late afternoon games. Carolina is still paying Cam Newton's replacement in Teddy Bridgewater. They're paying Cam Newton's replacement in Sam Darnold, and now they're paying Cam Newton again. They bring him back. So for the small price of Cam Newton's salary 3 times, you get Cam Newton. Geoff, the Panthers have been your team all year. Tell me why, please.
Well, they haven't been my team. I've been big on Sam Darnold. I said at the beginning of the year that Sam Darnold was going to be a top 15 fantasy quarterback, and he was well within that for much of the time before he got placed on IR. Had some bad outings the last couple outings. I'm not big on Carolina. I do tend to like them more with Christian McCaffrey back. I don't think that team is anything without Christian McCaffrey. Whether or not he can stay healthy, best of luck on that one. He's 8,400 this week. But I do think he's the only play over there for me. If you're going to pay up for running back, it's Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, they're playing the Cardinals this week. Kyler Murray's been hurt, so McCoy comes in last week. Randall seems to have left us, Geoff. Must have had a big emergency. McCoy comes in last week, though, and shockingly beats the 49ers, scores 31 points. James Conner throws up 42 last week at the running back position, and now with no Chase Edmonds, James Conner is going to carry the load today. Do you think he's worth a play?
I definitely do. I think James Conner can carry the workload, especially with if you're the Cardinals, you have to think that if with Murray being banged up, a little bit hurt, if Murray is going to play today, and I'm assuming he is, they're not going to want him doing too much. So I think they're going to want to rely on Conner to be that workhorse and not put Murray under any undue stress there. So I think Conner's a great play.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the status. The last I saw was Kyler Murray was questionable, and I'm kind of trying to look him up real quick right now. Kyler Murray's still questionable as far as ESPN says, so nothing for sure yet that I can see. It just updated. Sounds like Colt McCoy will start the second consecutive week, but Murray will likely be a game time decision and may be the backup. So looks like it's McCoy's game again today, which may turn this one into one that I don't tune into very often. All right, let's move on, Geoff. I guess Randall didn't want to talk about the Panthers and Cardinals, so we'll go to Vikings and Chargers and see if that piques his interest. Vikings, they find ways to lose. That's all I can say. Chargers up 1 week, down 1 week. Chargers -3 at home. Big total in this game, though. A lot of points going to be scored. 53.5 your total. What do you see happening in this one?
This is probably going to be a fun game to watch. If you're a Vikings fan, I'm super sorry. Y'all do find new and impressive ways to win, and that's coming from a fan of the Falcons, the Vols, and but y'all find new and impressive ways to win or lose. Luckily for us, this is fantasy football, so the win-loss doesn't matter. We just need points scored. With that being said, play everybody. I love this game from a stack perspective. I don't think you can go wrong with anybody you play. I think Keenan Allen is questionable. But I do like Mike Williams. I like Keenan Allen. All the big guys. I don't like much on the tight end side of it. But from the running back, quarterback, wide receiver, you play anybody. This game's stackable.
Randall, welcome back. Vikings, Chargers. Tell me.
Well, I got to do a PSA first. My 11-year-old daughter, I'm sure you're watching right now. You know not to call Daddy when he's on the podcast and his other phone's dead. So I'm on my main phone. I'll be to get you in a few minutes. Stop calling me. Love you. Favorite game of the day. Don't know which way to go. I think if I go Vikings, I think the way I want to go is I kept talking about money games. I think I want Minnesota. I want the two high-end players mixed with Eckler and Mike Williams, and then flip those quarterbacks back and forth and try to catch magic there. It's a hard game to save money on because the targets you want on these games are all expensive. Eckler, Dalvin Cook. I might even do a couple of stacks where I just play Eckler and Dalvin Cook and just then try to play pieces around them. But I really like this game to shoot out. And Justin Herbert, every time you play football, you prove that I know absolutely nothing about sports since on draft day I said, what a stupid pick. Thank you, buddy.
All right, let's move on. Eagles, Broncos. Randall, Eagles, no running game. Miles Sanders out, but Jordan Howard has come in. Boston Scott did 1 week. Jordan Howard seems like he's toting the load now there. Broncos also with that split backfield. It just doesn't seem like Javonte Williams is ever going to break loose from Melvin Gordon's shadow.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen now because last week was Javonte Williams' best week. But that means that probably Melvin Gordon will get 16 carries for 3 touchdowns and 150 yards today. I really think Denver – I've drafted Javonte Williams in several leagues. I think he may be the best rookie running back. But they don't want to give him the job. Melvin Gordon is obviously still startable. I do think that the fantasy world is missing out on Tim Patrick. You go look at Tim Patrick's stat lines and where he's priced every week and where he's rated every week. Tim Patrick is so much more productive. But all in all, I've been playing a lot of Jalen Hurts naked with none of his pieces. And I've also been losing a lot this year, so I'm not going to do that no more. So I'm going to kind of maybe avoid this game, but I could see me sneaking a Patrick into a lineup. But just too much value out there for me in other places this week.
Geoff, your thoughts on this game?
I'd love to disagree with Randall, but I can't. I've been thinking the same thing all week. I'm fading the Eagles. I've been trying to use Jalen Hurts here and there, but it's hit or miss. I'm fading the Eagles. He likes Patrick. I tend to like Judy. If I can plug Judy into a spot, I might. But again, I do like other players at those price points in other games better. So this might be a complete fade for me.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to what may be what many consider the biggest game of the day. Seattle Seahawks, Green Bay Packers. You got Russell Wilson coming back from injury, will start today. Aaron Rodgers coming back from lying, will start today. You've got a usual cast of characters in this game. Devontae Adams is just so steady, and it's hard to find another wide receiver you can trust from the Packers. You've got Metcalf and Lockett, but who do you pick on which day? And so, Randall, you got any insight on this that I'm not aware of?
I love Aaron Rodgers. Every week he plays, but God, Aaron Rodgers, you drive me nuts. I mean, just stop it. Stop it. My daughter's future is bet on Aaron Rodgers football cards. Stop it. She's not going to go to college because of you, Aaron Rodgers. Stop being stupid. Stop it. Stop. Okay. Devontae Adams is my number one producing wide receiver over all forums this week. I think he puts the biggest number up. But that's a big number beside his name. I almost like the Seattle stack better than the Green Bay stack because it's a little more affordable. This game could shoot out, but if you decide to stack this game, your salary is committed to this game because those are expensive players, almost like the Chargers and the Vikings. My struggle in fantasy sports is when I have two games I feel like it's going to shoot out, I want to get parts of both games. And there's not low-priced parts for me in these games. So I've actually backed off. I have a dollar total I play every week. I backed off this week a little bit because I'm not as confident as I normally am. So this game, along with the Charger-Vikings game, I feel like you get it right, you're a long ways to winning money.
Yep, you're nodding in agreement right here.
Yeah, this is the other game that I like, and it's the usual suspects. I'm with Randall. My one of my big stacks is gonna be the Seattle stack. And one thing he didn't mention, I've been waiting on a big blowout, a big huge game from Gerald Everett, and I think this could be that game. He's low priced at like 25 or 2,600. And I do think that he is the best tight end they have. So I do like Gerald Everett this week as well.
All right. Well, that wraps up everything for Sunday afternoon. We got a couple more games that we can just briefly hit on for Sunday night, Monday night. The Chiefs, I'm not sure what to make of the Chiefs right now. Something tells me that the Chiefs are still going to win the AFC West. Am I wrong on that, Geoff?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think they're too talented to implode like that. Although if you just take the last couple of weeks and look at it, I don't know what's going on over there. I do know from a fantasy perspective, I'm not paying for anybody on that team. They're too expensive to not produce. And that's what they've been, is non-producing. So I'm fading that side of it completely. And I guess I do like the Jacobs side on the Raiders. I don't like what the Raiders are dealing with off the football field. I think it's still fresh in everybody's minds, and it's a big thing. So a game that I would normally like from the fantasy aspect of it, I just don't have a lot for this week.
Yeah, one guy I like on the Raiders a little bit, especially since Ruggs is now no longer there. Hunter Renfrow getting a lot of targets, still inexpensive on the fantasy wire. He just keeps kind of throwing numbers up, getting 13 to 17, 20 points a week. Randall, do you like this game at all?
I do. I like your call on Renfro. He's in my receiver pool. I don't like the game. It's odd. I almost said something on the air the other night. I immediately stopped myself, and I was happy I did, because Raj Mehta on Wednesday night's news show, Ridiculous Speculation, is a Raiders fan. I'm just happy the Raiders got through the week without drama. You know, you feel for them. I think him and Renfro is probably the best play in this game for the price point. The Chiefs, I think we've seen a great example of what the Chiefs aren't in baseball and in basketball. And somewhat, I think Georgia may be playing out. You saw the Bucks, a team of kind of just a team that pulled together. No real superstars. You saw the Braves pick up a bunch of pieces and put it with their superstars and kind of bond as a team. I think the Chiefs need some football players and a little less stars at this point. I really think that football team is out of control. They've had to start breaking it up. I do not like the Chiefs as a football team right now. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill are great players, But as a football team, I don't like the Chiefs. So I think you roundabout said the same thing, Phil. The Chiefs are just a little bit of a mess. So I would not be shocked to see the Raiders play them well tonight. That single game stack, I will have Jacobs, Renfro. That's all I know right now. Those two will be my Raider pieces. And then I don't know where I go with the Chiefs because it's so expensive in those single games. You can't play Hill and Kelsey and Mahomes. So you almost have to pick two of those pieces and play them.
Yeah, I kind of like Darrell Williams on the Chiefs side tonight with Edwards-Helaire still out, and he's been catching a lot of balls out of the backfield and getting 80 to 100 yards. So seems like that may be the way to go if you want to get a little less expensive on the Chiefs. All right, Monday night, 49ers hosting the Rams. The Rams this week with a big pickup with Odell Beckham Jr., which no one saw coming, I don't think. And I think Odell immediately called Tanya Harding to take out Robert Woods' knee so he could get in the game. So Robert Woods now out for the year with an ACL injury. Odell Beckham in. What great timing for the Rams, Randall.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in aliens in my backyard. I don't believe any conspiracy in the world. I enjoy them, but I don't believe them. But if you tell me Robert Woods got hurt on Friday, I'm going to call you a liar. The Rams knew something was up. That's the reason so aggressive with Odell. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can mesh with that team. It's an opportunity. To me, it feels like when Antonio Brown landed with the Bucs last year, this feels the same for Odell Beckham. If he doesn't make the most of this opportunity, Phil, I don't know that Odell Beckham will be not bouncing team for team looking for jobs starting next year.
True. I totally agree with you. Geoff, any thoughts on this game as far as maybe a one-game showdown stack?
Yeah, I mean, as far as a one-game showdown stack, for San Francisco, after the debacle that was the Rams-Titans game last week, the Rams are liable to put 116 points on the board. I love the Rams side of it. Don't like the San Francisco side of it. Right now, I like Darrell Henderson. He's been running the football really, really well. And I do believe that the Rams blow this game out. So I think he's a big part of definitely the second half. I think he gets a ton of touches in that game. Obviously, I like Cooper Kupp. You have to find a way to get him in. From a cheaper play, I'm pretty sure OBJ will not be part of this lineup come this game. He's not going to be part of it yet. If he is, it'll be a very, very small part. So I love Van Jefferson. I think at his lower end price point, Van Jefferson to replace Robert Woods is a great play for that game.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I look for those diamonds in the rough, and I think Van Jefferson may be your play right there. One interesting thought on the betting part of this side of it, if you are so inclined. San Francisco this year, crazily enough, has not won a game at home. They are now 0-4 at home. This game coming in on Monday night. I know the crazy stat line is always take the home dog, but San Fran 0-4 at home. I think after tonight they will be 0-5. All right, I guess that'll wrap us up for the pros and the college today. We can get some final thoughts. Geoff, anything you want to add or just give us your crazy thoughts on today?
I don't really have many crazy thoughts today. I've been looking at some of the divisional races and stuff like that. I do agree with you on the Chiefs. I don't think that anybody's going to contend with the Titans either. The Titans have the benefit of starting the year out slow, but being in a really bad division. It's going to be interesting moving forward. I think I love the Rams-Arizona thing going on right now. So I think that's going to be entertaining going down the road. I still think the Rams is the best team in football. even after last week. They had a debacle, and I think they bounced back on Monday night.
Randall.
I agree with you. I still think the Rams are, when they play well, is the best team in football. I say today, if you don't have anybody in the 12 o'clock to watch, I think the Atlanta, Dallas, there is so many storylines going on. It's going to be a great football game. I want to, again, I started to say we all, but I guess I'm the only one now that lives in Chattanooga, which is on the line of the Tennessee-Georgia. A lot of Georgia fans here. Again, I'm not a sore loser. I just want to congratulate the Dogs. Wish you the best wishes. I hope you go as far as your talent takes you. And the last thing is, the followers of River City Media, we kind of had a rough football season. We expanded and we kind of contracted. And I've had too much time dedicated to radio. So we have took a couple of shows and put them together as one show. We now have 6 people, including these 2 gentlemen, that we're going to try to integrate into some different shows, some different looks. On Wednesday night, we started our reboot. And we started a reboot, folks, because we're going to a Roku, and we're trying to go to the next level. Wednesday night, we have a new show that's 3 hours sports, but it's rebranded Ridiculous Speculation. It's the same show with an extended cast and a lot more. Let's say we kicked it up a notch, and it probably went from FM to XM. So, that was our intentions. And, of course, we're going to leave this spot open. I'll be in and out with these 2 gentlemen. Hopefully we'll have some guest speakers that want to come on here with y'all. So these are going to be our 2 footholds that we're going to build around. So we're headed to Roku. This thing's going to grow on us. We're trying to get a couple of things in syndication, but we appreciate everybody that takes their Sunday or their Wednesday for 5 minutes and listens to River City. You 2 are great additions, and I want to thank you for this show because it becomes so much of my life. So that's my lecture, and I will not mention the word Georgia Bulldogs again the rest of the year. You people are the only ones that can make me root for Bama. Goodbye.
Georgia Bulldogs right here. Right here, actually.
Georgia's the only school that makes me root for Bama. I'll put it that way. So.
All right. Well, next week, it's going to be a really lax week in the SEC because everybody has their bakery games, as I say. It's where they get the cupcakes. And there is 1 or 2 games, maybe. Alabama, Arkansas should be a good one. If Arkansas can pull it together. Alabama's still got a little work to do with Arkansas and Auburn. And we're going to see how bad Florida is with hosting the Missouri Tigers next week. If Missouri goes in there and wins next week, I think Dan Mullen may be getting a clown job at the circus. So
let's go Mizzou.
If you've never been to a Georgia Tech game, folks, go to it. I've been to a Georgia Tech game. It's in
Atlanta this year too, and it's a pretty cool place to go.
It is. I love Georgia Tech. I love going to games at Georgia Tech. I've been to Tennessee. I went and watched UTC play at Georgia Tech one time. So it's a fun place to watch a game. Go to that game, folks. Georgia fans, make that place look like it's a home game.
Yeah, Jennifer, my wife, and I talked about going down to Atlanta this year, and we may still. I'm not sure. But we'll see.
All
right.
I'm going to be there a couple of weeks back to back, I have a feeling.
Good show today, guys. Appreciate you dropping back in with us, Randall, and hanging out as long as you can. Geoff, way to go, bud. So for Geoff Miller and Randall Cunningham, I'm Phil Dye, and this is Victory Formation. We're going to sign off.